Your doctor checks your cholesterol, your blood pressure looks fine. But right now, at this exact moment, something terrifying might be quietly building up inside your arteries. It starts as an invisible fire, a microscopic inflammation. Then comes the plaque. Layer by toxic layer, your arteries begin to narrow, stiffen, and lose their ability to do the one job they were designed to do: move life-giving blood freely through your body. Most people never feel it happening until the day they do, and by then it is often too late. But here is the brutal truth the billion-dollar medical industry rarely emphasizes. For decades, we have been told that atherosclerosis, the hardening of arteries, is just a plumbing problem caused by too much bad cholesterol floating around and sticking to the walls like grease in a pipe. That model is dangerously incomplete. Millions of people with perfect cholesterol levels still suffer fatal heart attacks. The real assassin hiding underneath all of it is something far more sinister: chronic, low-grade inflammation inside the arterial wall itself. When the delicate inner lining of your arteries, called the endothelium, gets damaged by stress, blood sugar spikes, or oxidized fats, it triggers a massive immune response. White blood cells rush in, cholesterol gets trapped. Your body panics and tries to seal it off. That seal becomes plaque. And when that unstable plaque ruptures, it forms a clot. That clot is a heart attack. That clot is a stroke. But you do not have to be a victim of this silent destruction. Today, we are going to look at what the clinical science actually says about stopping and even reversing this process. Not with a lifetime of pills, not with invasive procedures, but with 3 specific, scientifically proven foods that act as a biological reset button for your vascular system. Let us decode the molecular biology of arterial healing, starting with a powerful biocleaner. The first food is one many people eat, but almost no one understands the true mechanism behind. It is wild-caught salmon. Or more precisely, the omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, and DHA it contains. To understand why this is a biological miracle, you have to look at the tragic flaw in the modern diet. Right now, the ratio of inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids to anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids in the average person is roughly 15:1. Sometimes as high as 20:1. Historically, human biology evolved on a ratio closer to 4:1. This severe imbalance is quietly destroying you. When omega-6 is chronically dominant, it creates a pro-inflammatory environment. This systemic inflammation is the exact fertile ground where arterial plaque develops, grows, and ultimately destabilizes. EPA and DHA flip that deadly balance. But here is the most mind-blowing part. They do not just block inflammation the way a standard drug would. They actively resolve it. Your body takes EPA and converts it into a specialized class of molecules called resolvins and protectins. These molecules are pro-resolving. They act like a highly trained cleanup crew, actively signaling your immune system to stand down, to clear out the cellular debris, and to repair the damaged endothelial wall. This is a fundamentally different mechanism than simply suppressing a symptom. Clinical research published in top journals, including the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, proves this. Higher EPA and DHA intake directly correlates with reduced C-reactive protein, a major inflammatory marker. It lowers triglycerides, which independently drive plaque formation. One landmark study, the REDUCE-IT trial, followed over 8,000 patients with elevated cardiovascular risk. Those given high-dose purified EPA saw a staggering 25% reduction in major cardiovascular events, including heart attacks and strokes. That is not a marginal improvement. That is life-saving protection at the cellular level. But you must be careful. farm-raised salmon is often fed soy and corn, severely altering its fat profile. You need wild salmon, like sockeye or king, to get that pristine, bioavailable omega-3 content. 2 to 3 servings a week is the clinical sweet spot to start rebuilding your arterial defenses. The second food is the antioxidant armor your blood vessels are desperately craving. And it is probably already in your pantry, but almost certainly it is not being used in a way that maximizes its incredible potential. That food is extra virgin olive oil. Not regular olive oil, not light olive oil. It must be extra virgin, meaning it was cold-pressed without heat or chemicals, preserving its high phenolic compounds. These are the bioactive molecules that deliver systemic, measurable benefits to your circulatory system. The most studied and frankly most remarkable compound in extra virgin olive oil is called oleocanthal. If you have ever used a high-quality olive oil and felt a distinct, slightly burning sensation at the back of your throat, that is oleocanthal. And that sensation is telling you something profound about your biology. That specific compound inhibits the exact same inflammatory enzymes that ibuprofen inhibits, known as COX-1 and COX-2. But it does so without the devastating gastrointestinal side effects and without the severe cardiovascular risks associated with long-term NSAID drug use. This is not a folk remedy or an alternative medicine exaggeration. The structural and functional similarity between oleocanthal and ibuprofen was definitively identified by researchers at the Monal Chemical Senses Center, and it has been replicated extensively in subsequent clinical trials. Regular consumption of extra virgin olive oil with high oleocanthal content drastically lowers circulating inflammatory cytokines. But oleocanthal is just one part of the magic. Extra virgin olive oil also contains oleuropein, hydroxytyrosol, and a range of tocopherols, all acting as specialized antioxidants specifically within the vascular system. Here is why this matters for your survival. LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol on its own, does not cause plaque. The true villain is oxidized LDL. When LDL particles get damaged by free radicals inside the arterial wall, they become highly toxic to the cells lining the artery. They trigger the formation of foam cells, which is the actual microscopic beginning of a deadly plaque lesion. Antioxidants that operate efficiently in the arterial environment, like those in high-quality olive oil, interrupt that process before it even starts. The PREDIMED trial, one of the largest dietary studies ever conducted, followed over 7,400 adults at high cardiovascular risk. Those assigned to a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, about 4 tablespoons per day, saw a massive 30% reduction in major cardiovascular events compared to a control group on a standard low-fat diet. The trial had to be stopped early because the benefit was so overwhelmingly clear it was considered unethical to keep the control group on the inferior diet. The key, however, is uncompromising quality. The phenolic content of olive oil degrades rapidly with heat, light, age, and poor processing. Look for oils in dark glass bottles from a single origin with a clear harvest date and use them within a year. Most importantly, use it raw as much as possible. Heating above 350 degrees Fahrenheit begins destroying the very compounds you are consuming it for. The third food is the one most people eat the least, and yet it has arguably the most dramatic, documented effects on arterial plaque in human history. That food is raw or lightly cooked garlic. Specifically, its allicin content and downstream sulfur compounds. When you crush or chop a fresh garlic clove, you activate an enzyme called alliinase. That enzyme rapidly converts a compound called allein into allicin. Allicin is one of the most biologically active, potent plant compounds ever studied in cardiovascular research. But there is a catch. The problem is that allicin is highly volatile. It breaks down quickly. So cooked garlic, older garlic powder, and cheap garlic supplements often deliver dramatically less benefit than fresh, crushed garlic that has been allowed to sit for exactly 10 minutes before being consumed or lightly heated. That 10-minute window is the biological secret. It allows the enzymatic conversion to complete fully before heat deactivates the enzyme. What does allicin actually do inside your arteries? Multiple mechanisms, all of them critical. First, it inhibits an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase. This is the exact same enzyme that statin drugs target to lower cholesterol. While it is not as potent as a pharmaceutical statin, it is a real, documented, and completely natural effect. Meta-analyses of clinical trials have found that regular garlic consumption consistently reduces total cholesterol by an average of 7 to 9%. Second, garlic actively inhibits platelet aggregation, meaning it makes your blood less sticky, drastically reducing the likelihood of forming the kind of catastrophic clots that turn a plaque rupture into a fatal heart attack. This is one major reason garlic has been used therapeutically across virtually every ancient culture. They observed the pattern long before modern biochemistry was understood. Third, and perhaps most shockingly, there is clinical evidence that aged garlic extract does not just slow plaque development, but may actually regress existing calcified plaque. A 4-year randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial at UCLA followed 55 patients with metabolic syndrome. At the end of the study, the garlic group showed significantly slower progression of coronary artery calcium compared to controls. And some participants showed actual measurable reduction in their calcification scores. That is not a common finding in medicine. Regression is another level of healing entirely. Practically speaking, 1 to 2 cloves of fresh garlic per day, crushed, rested, and then consumed, puts you well within the therapeutic range used in these positive clinical studies. Now, let us bring this all together with one final layer of brilliant science that explains why these 3 foods work exponentially better in combination. It comes down to a crucial biological concept called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, or ENOS. Nitric oxide is a gas your arterial walls produce on demand. When blood flow needs to increase, the endothelium releases nitric oxide, signaling the smooth muscle surrounding the artery to relax and expand. That is how arteries dilate. That is how your body naturally regulates blood pressure. In arteries that are inflamed, oxidatively stressed, or lined with thick plaque, the enzyme that makes nitric oxide becomes uncoupled. It stops producing the relaxing gas and starts producing damaging free radicals instead. The artery physically loses its ability to dilate. Blood pressure climbs, turbulent flow further damages the endothelium, and a deadly feedback loop begins. All 3 foods in this video directly rescue and support ENOS function. The EPA and DHA in salmon upregulate ENOS expression at the genetic level. The polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil protect ENOS from oxidative destruction. And the sulfur compounds in garlic are direct signaling molecules that activate ENOS independently. This is why cardiovascular researchers increasingly view diet not as a collection of isolated effects, but as a profound systems-level intervention. Your arteries are not a fixed, dead structure. They are living, breathing tissue. They respond to what you eat, how you move, and how you manage stress every single day. The clinical research is crystal clear. Meaningful change is possible at any age, and at almost any stage of arterial disease. It requires fierce consistency and time. But your biological capacity for improvement and healing is absolutely real. Start with these 3 foods. Understand why they work at a molecular level. Let the hard science be your motivation, not just another piece of fleeting advice. If this kind of deep, evidence-based health content is useful to you, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below telling us which of these 3 powerful foods you are adding to your daily routine first. We read every single one. Take control of your biology and stay healthy.